talk about pacing.
Hi.
Let's get to, okay, so we know that laziness is not what we are.
No.
We know that we are not lazy. We know to stop claiming the spell. Hooray!
Yay.
Now what?
Slow down. Yay.
So this for me is definitely where it gets real tantric, right? Because thank God I started studying tantra as a healing modality. I'm actually, when I look back on this was just very cosmic for me, you guys, because I've always been a very sexual woman. It's something I've been in tune with about myself from a very young age. And when I chose tantra as a healing modality, it was actually because the trauma I had found in my system was sexually related. And I knew that there was only so much I could do in my brain, right? Especially with sexual trauma. The body is so involved. The body is the receiver of the trauma. And so I knew that because of what I knew at this point in my life, I knew that there was shit inside my body that I was being told that I was completely unconscious of. Up until this point in my life, I had been performing a lot. I had been dancing a lot. When I say performing, I don't just mean performing in my life, sure, in my business and stuff, but I had been dancing a lot. I was the oldest girl in my entire family, so I was constantly the example, which means you're performing all the fucking time because everybody's like, oh, Desiree this, and Desiree that, and Desiree gets to do this.
Dear oldest children, I'm sorry.
It's a lot,
I'm
right?
so sorry.
I see you, girl. I see you.
I'm sorry.
Human. Oldest children anywhere, because also boys and anybody in between, right?
Oldest child.
Oldest child.
I'm sorry.
We get so pedestaled and then we perform to keep the pedestal safe. Because we, like Cami was saying, it's so funny because in a lot of ways she was an only child growing up. I was not. But we both have the same experience of performing in order to keep everybody's nervous system stable in the house.
Oh my God.
We know how to do that shit real well, except for our own. Inside, we're like...
Yeah, nobody did that for us when we were growing up. Nobody in our...
Inside, we're falling apart.
Let's take care of our child's nervous system.
Right. But on the outside, we're stabilizing everybody else. Everyone else is chill because we're chill. Because we are performing chillness.
They were like, let's make sure our child has food and clothes and a house.
Yeah. So when I chose Tantra, I did not know that I was choosing a path that was going to actually open me to slowness and eroticism in a completely non-sexual way. And this is part of why Tantra is such a pillar of our work, because it's so misunderstood. Number one, it's just a channel of Buddhism and Taoism, basically. Okay? So, let's completely desexualize it. We're going to strip it all the way down.
We're not talking about the Kama Sutra.
No.
There's more to Tantra than this.
That's 0.1% of it. Okay? Also, sexual
the least
Tantra,
cool part.
Anything that, and now sexual Tantra is not even necessarily something that results in orgasm. So let's de-Westernize it, okay? Sexual Tantra is anything where the body is involved in receiving pleasure. This
like eating.
Sexual trauma. This, or not sexual
Tantra.
trauma. Sexual
Tantra.
Tantra. This. Orgasm.
Wow.
Delicious.
Parched.
Okay? That's sexual, though. So, I just want to get really clear about this. About what we mean in Tantra. When we say red Tantra, this is the sexual receptivity of pleasure. White Tantra is like drinking my water. Okay? Now, I got really drastic with it a second ago because I wanted you guys
Y'all
to
take
get
notes.
it.
Red Tantra, white Tantra.
Red Tantra is usually the sexual one, the one we're practicing with a wand or a yoni egg or any kind of pleasure, right? Or with our partners. White Tantra is my water brings me orgasm. My breath brings me orgasm. Simply opening my eyes.
Strawberries.
Strawberries. Yeah.
Chocolate.
Yeah.
Music. You're getting it. Yes.
Got it. So, now that we've broken down Tantra, when I understood just how much I was unconsciously performing in sex with my partner. Okay, this is just one isolated incident, you guys. Literally, I had one. There was one. I messaged her right after too, bawling. I was like, because it took one time for me to realize after a very specific tantra class. It was the heart massage. Y'all can message me. We can talk about heart massages. I know you're like, wait a minute. She was crying after sex from a heart massage? I know. We'll talk about it later. Okay. But I remember the moment where I realized I had been performing through not just sex, but my entire life. Because in the moment that I realized I had been performing in sex with this person that I had been in a relationship with for over 8 years at this point, and like was talking about marrying, I also, you guys know when we have those moments, right? It's like you see the one thing and then it zooms out and you're like, oh.
Yikes.
And that was what happened in that moment. And that was the year that I stopped performing. I stopped dancing for the public.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna do this for real, I'm gonna slow the fuck down. And I'm gonna get really fucking erotic with it.
She's like, do I even dance?
Do I even want to dance for people? Like,
oh my god!
Right? Like, and again, this is like the very just productive society that we live in, and again, we've created performance standards around eroticism, around our sensuality, around like holiness. This is a hard word for me to use right now because there's so much subconscious connotation that people are adding of their own. When we say holy, I do not mean that I am above you. There is no hierarchy here. Mm-hmm. When I say holy, I mean your experience of God. Mm-hmm. Again, on a day-to-day basis with your breath, with your water, with your food, with your movement. But if we don't slow down, we can't hear that shit.
Mm-hmm. No. God, universe, Allah, whatever you want. Allah. Mm. And that's crazy because I think it takes us to success. Because if success no longer means productivity and how much we can do and perform and produce, then what is success? Well, God damn it, you guys. Success is having a healthy nervous system. Success is being able to pick up your art, whatever that means for you. Maybe your art is engineering and mathematics. Okay? The point is that whatever the fuck you like to do for fun, you pick that up. Success is being able to navigate multiple dimensions. Success is being able to sit your body down for 5 minutes, maybe longer. Success is not falling apart when something does not go as planned.
Yeah, we're deprogramming success now, right? And I'm going to speak to the masculine and feminine as energies here, not physiological humans, okay? Mm-hmm. This is the process of de-armoring the masculine, energy that we have created in this patriarchy, okay? Mm-hmm. This is not, it's a skewed version of masculine energy, but it has been very armored because we have put so much pressure on masculine things, again, energetically, right? So structures, systems, etc., to protect us. Mm-hmm. But they were built on unhealthy foundations. Okay? So they're not going to protect us. So number one, we have to de-armor our own masculine. We have to de-armor ourselves from feeling like we have to perform, like we have to be productive, like we have to A, B, C, meet the checklist, right? This is the masculine. And then we have to also be willing at the same time to rewild our feminine. Mm-hmm. And again, speaking out of feminine energy, right? So if you are a man listening to this right now, just because I know you're like, well, how the fuck do I do that? Are you an artist? When's the last time you painted, sang, wrote a song?
Rapped.
When's the last time you let your life flow a little bit as a man? And it's okay if you don't know when, because
that's the point.
That's the point.
That's what we're trying to make.
We're trying to tell you. The system is created for us to forget, to get distracted. And to just lean into productivity.
Survival, 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 survive as fast as you can. Survive as fast as you can.
As fast as you can. And let's keep you distracted while we're at it.
Wow! Meanwhile, all we're doing is running our way to death.
Yeah.
'Cause
Racing.
that's it.
Racing, not pacing.
To
Literally
die.
Racing to die.
It's crazy.
We're like, oh yeah, I can do it faster.
And with more millions. It drives me nuts. Oh my god.
Dead.
Wow. Some personal rituals that I like to do. Something I do every day at the end of the day is when I shower. Number one, I deliberately take my time. Even when I know that I need to take a faster shower, I understand what time frame I have, and I still try my best to take my time. But I talk to the water, and I intentionally try to ritualize this space of I easily release anything that is not mine and is not divine, and I see that wash away from me. And then I ask to release anything that is mine, any negative energies that I am holding on to that are mine specifically, which, everything is mine. But anyway, that I can recognize as my own. I ask to also let go of that. And I say specifically because I do not want to harbor. I'm not harboring these things. I want to let go of these things. Another thing that I do, Desiree and I have mentioned that we meditate together every morning. But something that I realized I have to do for myself is make sure, most days, is that I meditate by myself first, or I do breath work by myself first. It's usually shorter than the one that we do, but I make sure that in the morning I have some time that is just for me. This is something that I actually learned from my auntie. I realized, just slowly turning into her. Ever since I was very little, it takes her like 2 hours to get out of her bedroom in the morning. And I used to just sit outside her door when she would come visit and just look underneath the door and just like, oh my God. Because every morning she would do her meditation and then, I believe she writes first. So she has her journal. She has a library of personal journals. One day they will be published. Please. Okay. She has her journal, she picks that shit up, and she writes like a whole page at least as soon as she wakes up, and then she meditates, and then etc., goes on about her day. And this is something that I think for some people, this is very needed. For, let's call like the hermit people. You can do human design, two people. It is imperative that you allow your body has to know that you're trying to pay attention to it too. Okay? Because if not, shit's gonna hit the fan. The more you are trying to take care of everybody else without taking care of yourself, of course things are going to happen. You're just gonna naturally start. It's like the body gets like itchy and twitchy, and suddenly people are pissing you off and you don't necessarily understand why. And it's because your body feels neglected. So I personally have realized, and this was not a happy realization. I did not like this realization. I had to really work with myself, sit down and talk to myself and tell myself that it was okay for me to need this time by myself. That it doesn't mean that I'm always going to isolate, and it doesn't mean that I am isolating, and it doesn't mean that I'm pushing someone away, and it doesn't mean that I don't want to meditate, for example, with Desiree. It doesn't mean that. It means that I also need to make sure that I do it for me, so that I know that I'm getting it. And that's it.
It's interesting to watch her integrate this now, because her 2 is her leading number. My 2 is my second number. But I've always been the one that's like, okay, I need to go inside now. Okay, I need to go away now. All right, I'm done. And she's a little more, I'm noticing as we reach a new layer of relationship, that then this is it's not to coddle her, it's a check-in more so. But what do you want to do? And I always ask her, but do you want to? Like, this is something I'm doing with her right now because she is so conscious of everybody else in the room. And so if everybody else in the room wants to, she will convince herself that she also wants to. And being a 2, we're not...
Makes sense to me.
As the 2, when we're in that 2 energy, we're not necessarily screaming, I don't want to do it, because we're in our hermit energy. So, anyways, I say that to say these rituals don't have to be huge. They just have to be intentional and honor whatever part of ourselves is feeling agitated in these moments throughout the day or in a relationship, like she was saying. I have a lot of the same personal rituals just because we're pretty similar. So for me, alone time is definitely a thing. For me, I realize it's better to wait to talk until after I move. This is just my splenicness, I think. It's very body-based. So I feel like we've done a lot of learning how to honor each other's rituals as well, because they can look very different for us. Sometimes Cami moving through something is writing for an hour. For me, like, writing for an hour, it can help, but if I'm at the point where I'm like agitated, I gotta move first. Like, my body's vibrating, the body has to move first. Then I can kind of like walk through it, write through it, whatever. But we've also, I think, made, and this is where again environment, set and setting are so important when we start to really evolve through these things, because not everybody in my life knows how to make space for my rituals like Cami does, and also honor her own. So
Yeah.
Man.
This is a learned thing.
Yeah, and I think just one last thing before we wrap up and kind of integrate a little bit. I think that this is, like you were talking about in her newest YouTube video, which you guys should go check out, the evolution of the self and honoring who we are now, in where we are now, and what our needs, desires, etc. in relationship are now. And that can be hard because, especially when we've just moved through a season of personal death, where we feel like we just lost ourselves already. And now you're telling me I have to lose my husband or my wife, or change the relationship I have with my mother.
Yes.
Yes.
If you want it to be
If
healthy.
you want this to stick, if you want this practice to not be another death that you have to move through again in a year, and you're looking in the mirror at yourself like, I thought we did this already, then yes, we do have to essentially burn it all down. We do have to be willing to restructure our entire lives when we realize there's a pattern and unconscious behavior that we no longer desire.
Man, yeah.
Because it's not just happening in one place of your life. It's not just happening in your business. It's not just happening in your relationship. It's not just happening at work.
Yeah.
One leak is a leak everywhere.
And it just takes little itty bitty changes that you are constantly reaffirming. Parents, real quick, for example, like I mentioned, the relationship with my parents was not necessarily very emotionally healthy, but I had to decide if I wanted a relationship with them. And the idea is that, yes, ideally I do. However, I only want a healthy relationship. That's it. I don't want a dysfunctional relationship with my parents anymore. So what that means is, unfortunately, it's not necessarily unfortunately, but I have had the privilege of setting up what that means. And so that took years of having conversations with my father, for example. He's a little volatile like me. And it took a lot of repetition. When we spoke, I could not elevate like him, right? Because as soon as I elevate, I am entering this frequency. God. So, is that what I want? No, that's not healthy. So my job was to figure out when the conversation was not going well, set the parameter, and not now. I have hung up plenty of times, but again, this is not what we want to do. So it's more like, hey, you're here.
Yeah.
You're here. I don't think we need to be here. We could come back down here. Now, if you can come back down here, we can continue this conversation. If you can't, then we'll just end it for today. Sometimes you get hung up on by your parents or whoever it is. Sometimes you end up having to hang up. Good. Have you avoided the then great. This is what happens. Now this is discipline.
Yeah.
And this is
absolutely.
Oh my God, reaffirming to myself why I'm doing this. What is it that I want? And then still remaining open for my father to come back time and time again, because I said I do want a relationship. So if I said I do want a relationship, then I must remain open for when he's ready, but only within certain parameters. Now, about 5 or 6 years later, do we have like, oh my God, no, but we have. It's been years since he has, screamed at me or yelled at me or lost his shit at me. It's been years since I've done the same. But like 2 years ago, it was the first time my dad ever had an honest fucking conversation with me. And what I mean by that is he was able to honestly tell me how he feels about himself. Like, there's not something you can talk to me about. And it was the first time he was able to tell me that he feared my rejection growing up. And so, of course, what do we know about rejection? So, of course, he rejected me so much as I was young. So it just takes this constant repetition. And this is the discipline of deciding what it is that you want, with who it is that you want it, and then forming your boundaries and parameters around what that is going to look like, and then being very strict with that energy and that frequency, especially if you are dealing, for example, with like a parent that you don't have the best past with, where like it's going to take some work.
Yeah, that's how we maintain energetic frequency. That's the how. We have to create the set and setting for it to exist.
It's so disciplined.
So I want to actually have us drop back into the body. I want to come back to those 3 breaths that we did. If you don't mind guiding us, and then I'll drop this into a little quick meditation and prayer to kind of wrap this episode up, because this was a lot to talk about.
It was a lot.
I realize, we did it in shorter episodes this time, but I think no matter how short our episodes get, they're always going to be potent. And so we always want to leave your nervous systems.
Chew. This time, with the breath, I'll put a little bit more emphasis on the pause. So I'll demonstrate. So it'll be a 2-part inhale with a little pause. And then we're going to exhale. So go. Sort of want the exhale to be a little longer this time. We're going to try to slow down the system. Okay, so we'll start and inhale. Out. Good. Again, in. Pause. Out. And inhale. Pause. A little longer. And out. And regular breath now.
So I just want you to start at your feet. Just dropping all the way down to your feet, wherever your energy's at. Gather it up. Throw it down with love.
Wipe it down.
Wipe me down.
Hey.
Listen, sometimes that's how spirit wants to come through. And at our feet, we're going to let whatever colors this energy might be start to neutralize. And just start creating a ball of platinum and gold white light at the bottom of your feet. And slowly letting it come up and wrap around your toes and the edges of your feet. And letting it move into your bones and your blood system. And as that energy moves up, I just want you to start releasing any performance in the body right now. Anything you notice gets tense as the energy moves up, release it. If you notice that your shoulders want to start to creep up to your ears, relax them back down. You are safe, you are loved, and you belong in this energy. So moving up to your ankles, flooding all the little nerve endings, the capillaries, the muscle tissues and fascia. And making its way up your shins, your calves, up into your knees. And again at the knees, we're just gonna relax. Just noticing any parts of the body that might be holding tension and relaxing them. And letting that warmth find its safety in your body. And letting it flood from the knees all the way up the thighs, the back of the thighs, the side of the thighs, the front of the thighs, the inside, up into the groin, the pelvic floor, the bottom of the glutes. Not all the way up into the hips yet. Now you can slowly let it up into the full hip beyond the bottom of the glute and relax. Usually the sacral can be one of the most tense, unconsciously tense areas when we start to play in source energy, and so just notice and relax. Drop the pelvic floor, drop the perineum. You can hold energy without gripping to it. You can maintain without choking. And once you have received at least one layer of relaxation there, you can start to let the light move up through the sacral, the womb. Whether you have a physical one or not, we all have a womb. Up into the belly, the abs, the solar plexus. And again, relaxing. Once you get to the solar plexus, you might notice that your ribs or your breath has become tight, a little restricted. Just releasing and flowing. No control. You don't have to control the breath here. Moving that light up through your ribs, all of your organs, your lungs, your chest, into your heart. And relax. And if you feel feelings, let them relax as well. And it's okay to cry if you need to. And it's okay to laugh if you want to. Just relaxing the little shoulder muscles that might want to protect your heart right now, the little back muscles that might want to tense for fear of feeling, and reminding them that it's safe, that they are loved, that they belong here. And letting that light drip down into the arms, the shoulders, the elbows, the hands, all the way through your fingertips. Flooding the system gently, no force, no performance. And letting the light start to continue beyond the heart, up into the top part of the chest, through your collarbone, bleeding over into your neck, filling all sides of your neck, back, bottom, top, front, inside, outside, all of your vocal cords, your thyroid, your voice box. And relaxing again. Just finding those little throat muscles that might be holding, the neck muscles that might be gripping. Safety, love, and belonging is always our antithesis for tension. And letting that light move up into the bottom of the chin, the back of the head, the jaw, the nose, the cheekbones, the mouth, the ears, the eyes, the third eye. And relax your face. Letting that light flood again all your organs, your blood flow, your air, your visions. And finally letting that light bubble all the way up to the very top, covering the entire top of your head. And coming right out of your crown, maybe about 6 inches at the most. And relax the top of your head. Just take a couple deep breaths here. Again, not controlled. Follow your flow. Palms open to the sky for me if they're not already. And I'm going to drop us into a little prayer here. I release the timelines that were never mine. I renounce the race I never signed up for. I reclaim the rhythm that brings me home to source. I release the timelines that were never mine. I renounce the race I never signed up for. I reclaim the rhythm that brings me home to source. I release the timelines that were never mine. I renounce the race I never signed up for. I reclaim the rhythm that brings me home to source. And charging that light, that bright light that's at the top of your head but also covering your entire body. With all of that. And we'll seal that prayer with, I move slow because I am precise. I pause because I am wise. I wait because I am worth the wait. Amen, Ashe, Alleluia, whatever you like.
Oh.
And find your way back.
And so it is.
Amen.
So in conclusion, guys, there's nothing wrong with your pace. The problem is thinking you had to prove anything in the first place. Mm-hmm. So we have 3 little journal prompts for you. Or you don't even have to journal, just think about it. Number 1, when did I first feel ashamed of my pace? Hey. Number 2, what does alignment feel like in my body? And number 3, who would I be if I trusted divine timing without apology? So, wow. I encourage you to share this episode or last episode with anyone who needs to hear that they're not lazy.
Also, if you feel so called to share those prompts with the world, maybe, because I know we got a lot of coaches on them listening to this podcast, and we all want to be visible, so let's get real with them. Let's get visible then. Let's talk about some real truth with the people, right? Maybe. And so, tag me if you feel brave enough to do that. Tag us at SoulSync. Not just me, but...
Let's do it.
And then, I also invite you, when this episode finds you, if you feel like you're in a space that you want to expand your field and you really want to drop into the presence of who you are now, who you've died so many deaths to become now, then I invite you to DM us. We can talk about Necrolux, which is the space that I was just talking about earlier. It's a really beautiful death and rebirth portal, and a great place for you to have 2 extra bodies to help you expand through and maintain some frequencies.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, well, that's it for today's episode.
Have a good day, guys. Same voice.
Same vortex.
You'll know when to press play again. Bye.
Bye.